Welcome back to the Call in Our Shop podcast. I'm Austin, joined by Logan. This is our episode 35, posted every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Today, we took last week off. We're back with the special guest today, and it's none other than Guy Boston Sports. Welcome him to the channel. We appreciate you for coming on to the weekly live stream. How are you doing, my man?
I am doing great. When I got the nod to come on the show, my day got a little bit better. I know we planned it a little while ago, but I'm happy to be here. Nice to get on a little virtual meet you with you and Logan here.
No, we appreciate you for coming out. And before we even get into talking about the NBA playoffs, talking about why you got into YouTube, all that different stuff, I need you guys to do me a favor. All the Call in Our Shot stands, the community out there, go get this man to 10,000 subscribers. He's less than, I think, 400. I think it's like 380 or something like that. Go hit that subscribe button. It's linked at the top of the description. Definitely go show him some love. We want to see him at 10K. You know, that's what I demand out of the Call in Our Shop people. Go show him some love. He posts obviously his favorite bets on every NBA morning. I saw you guys started doing some MLB too. It's not you doing the videos, but I saw you guys doing them.
Yeah, we're growing with it. So we got a new guy named Ethan jumping on here doing some MLB picks and whatnot because we just want to bring the most amount of content that we can, both I guess good content but also entertaining content to the people out there, and it's a great community to be a part of, as you guys know. So yeah, we're rolling with it.
100%. I feel like we've kind of talked to our other guests that we've had on here. I feel like everyone has a different route to getting into YouTube. So I kind of wanted to hear your route. We've never personally talked on the phone, so I've always kind of wanted to hear what got you into making YouTube videos and kind of how you guys are almost at 10,000 subscribers. I assume I see all the Celtics gear. I had to wear my Giannis shirt for you. We'll talk about that series in a little bit, but what got you into YouTube and what made you start making videos?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been doing, I guess you can call it sports media, right, for probably the last 6 years or so. And I started Guy Boston Sports in 2016. And it really started as a blog, which, gained a Twitter following and everything like that. So we started up that way with written content. And then we would post, it was me and 20 other people that ended up writing for the site after I'd started it. And we had posted, blogs, video, podcasts, all that on the website. And also on Twitter. And, what kind of got me into, I guess, YouTube is take it from there. We started going live on Twitter, which you could still do now. But then Twitter had announced, I think it was Periscope was the company that Twitter was using it, or, the live stream through Twitter was. They had announced, Periscope is going to be no more. There's going to be a time period where you can't go live on Twitter, and live streaming became such a big part of what I did on my personal channel, what I did on my personal account, and what I did on the Guy Boston account. I was going live during Celtics halftime, reacting to the game afterwards live. So all of a sudden I said, all right, we got to pivot here. And this is just, a year and a half ago, a couple of years, we have to pivot here and, turn to YouTube. And I never really looked back. We were making some YouTube content before on there, but it never became the focus. So it was always, drive everything back to GuyBostonSports.com, drive them to @GuyBostonSports on Twitter. And now all of a sudden the focus in my mind has shifted to, hey, get them to the Guy Boston Sports YouTube channel where we have Celtics content, NBA content, MLB content, sports betting content. It kind of started to flourish just based on what the audience wanted, I guess. So it really kind of, I guess Periscope going out of business kind of forced my hand at YouTube, and I'm damn glad it did, for sure.
Rooting for the demise of a company. Yeah. That's true Boston if I've ever heard it. Hey. I say that as my family's from New York, but so naturally they kind of hate all the Boston sports. So I'm a little bit indifferent about the Celtics team. We'll talk about that in a second.
Wait, Austin, I don't mean to cut you off, but you said your family's from New York. He's obviously Boston, pounding the Boston drum. I live in Philly. So I need your opinion right now.
What did I walk into here?
Let's just.
You walked into the crosshairs, buddy.
Oh, man.
Let's just start a Northeastern war. What is your opinion? Let's start with the great city of Philadelphia. What do you love about Philly?
Me?
Yeah,
it's you.
I'll
be honest, Logan doesn't even like Philly that much. He's kind of a hater. Whoa. So you can go in on him.
I'll say this, probably the only thing, and I'm when I say about Philly, I've never been to Philly. I've been to Pennsylvania, whatever. But I would say the thing I like about, if I were to make it more sports related, I guess, and sports fans related, it kind of speaks to the personality of Philly people. I would say I like the passion Philly has. but that probably directly relates to sort of like the sports hate of Boston and Philly and even New York, because all the passion shines through. So, I know that the Philly fans, no matter what sport it is, have had some rough go abouts with, I don't know, holidays like Christmas and Santa and everything like that. But I do like and I respect the passion that I would say Philly has, because I think at the end of the day, it's very Boston like, and that's what I like. So I know it's kind of like a Philly fans probably hate Boston fans hate Philly fans, but it's almost just because like hating a brother or something like that, because you guys are so similar. So that's part that I like, that when the Celtics play the Sixers or that, like, there is this absolute, oh my god, my day is centered around this game now because the hate's there. I like that.
Let me tell you, last year I went to a Phillies Red Sox game in Philly, obviously. And I was riding the subway with a bunch of Boston fans, a bunch of massholes. And there was a lot of animosity pent up with them and the Philly fans on there. You could just feel it. That's that good Northeastern rivalry tension. In other states and other regions, they might not understand it, but let me tell you, I've only lived in Philly like 3 years, but it's real, and it's a cool thing. That's why we love sports.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, it's like, would you rather be on the subway and be like, oh, like, I don't feel this, like, that's getting you pumped to go to the game or whatever. Like, it's, I guess, sucks in a way, but I kind of think it's a cool dynamic.
No, I think it's honestly awesome. Is there a favorite like Boston team you like to go watch just because of their atmosphere and their venue, or like, do you have a most iconic game you've ever been to? I know it's kind of putting you on the spot.
I would say, I mean, my probably the best team to go watch may be the Bruins, and that's like the fourth on my list in terms of sports I like. But when TD Garden gets rocking for a Bruins game or a goal is scored, especially playoff hockey, I've been to one playoff game. It was years ago. I was way younger, but it's pretty like remarkable. And I love the Celtics through and through, obviously, but I don't think that it really compares to, a goal scored when the Bruins are down one with a few minutes left in the third type of thing. In terms of memorable Celtic games that I've been to, it's a weird answer, but I don't even remember the year. But Monte Ellis was on the Warriors, and he dropped like it was like 50 points, or he had, I don't know, something crazy. And for whatever reason, I was so young, and I went with my dad, and I became like a Monte Ellis fan for the next month, and then realized that I don't really like Monte Ellis, but I was a young kid, so for whatever reason that sticks with me. But other than that, I'm usually at home doing stuff like, game related and whatnot during big games, because I guess priorities. Yeah.
I get that. Monte Ellis, what a name. That's I like. Logan and I used to play fantasy basketball way back when, and Monte Ellis was a big guy in there. There's also David Lee from the Knicks, was also like a very good fantasy basketball player. Have you ever? What is your opinion on Fenway Park? Because I've always wanted to go to Fenway Park, and I'm trying to get there this year. But within the next 2 years, I want to go there. Obviously, we do these baseball videos every morning, but I mean, Fenway's iconic, just like Wrigley Field, which I'm hoping to go to as well this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Fenway, it lives up to the hype if you're a baseball fan, or if you can appreciate it, I guess. You're obviously going to have, like Logan said too, the mass holes. It's ridden with that, obviously, like no kidding. But, walking out of, I don't want to call it the tunnel, but you know what I mean? Walking to when you kind of see the field open up, and when people talk about it, you hear the crack of the bat and all that, like it all rings true at Fenway Park. So I have very high, I guess I have very much to say about Fenway Park. Whether the Red Sox stink or they're good, you go there, and it is kind of that typical baseball experience when the weather's nice and the season's that type of thing. But it does live up to the hype, in my opinion.
I just want to see the Green Monster in person. It's on my bucket list too, because I mean, have such an iconic feature in a baseball stadium, be so historic like that. Come on, the Green Monster is right up there. Like Austin said, Wrigley Field. It's on my bucket list too. We talk about too much baseball. I watch too much baseball not to have been to these stadiums. So
you guys let me know when you're in Boston. We'll do something.
Right. Absolutely.
We will call on our shot reunion, and we'll bring Guy Boston Sports. We'll go to Fenway Park for a game. I think we need to put that in the works sometime later on this summer. We'll see if we can get that done. That would be pretty sweet. Are there any stadiums you kind of want to go to, or arenas you can think of?
I would love to go to baseball, Camden Yards, I've just heard that it's nice and well put together. I guess that makes me want to go see it for myself. I haven't been to the new Yankee Stadium. I went to the old one, I think the second to last year that it was around. For basketball, I would love to go. Actually, football, I'd like to go to a game in Seattle. I want to go. I would like to go to all these places that the crowd gets rocking. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily about the arena to me per se. It's more about the atmosphere. So like you throw Philly or Madison Square Garden, or the Phillies game, Sixers game, anything like that, Madison Square Garden, Barclays, like just any of these places that sort of have the hype. Kind of a typical cliche answer of get me to those places. I would say there isn't really any like special, like I'd love to go see a game there, and no one else would have that answer. I'm more about the, like if the place gets going, I want to experience that and I want to be there. Because even like I answered the Philly versus Boston thing, I love like passion for something or sports, and I do appreciate it and would love to be like I can take the being a Celtics fan at a Knicks game and going back and forth and crap talking someone and whatnot. I think that's I hope the other guy gets that, like we're all friends at the end of the day. Like I was just at the Heat game when the Celtics lost to the Heat at the end of the year, and he was a Heat fan, and we were going back and forth all game long. But there was this dynamic of like, you're saying the meanest things, I'm saying some of the meanest things, but like we're not gonna fight each other. We're just like at a basketball game. So anywhere that I can do that type of thing, I'm thrilled to do it.
I can't speak for Logan, but I feel like they would fight you in Philly.
They would fight you in Philly. I've seen fights outside the stadium before. Now, inside the stadium, you might have some stadium security protection, but just let them find you in the parking lot. Be wearing that Celtics green right coming out of the Wells Fargo Center. Let's just try it. That's all I'm saying. They don't like it. They see green and they attack.
I'll get punched in the face from my Celtics.
Yeah,
that is a true fan right there. And I kind of, speaking of Celtics, how are you feeling about this series? Luckily, since we record this on Tuesday night, it goes live on Wednesday. Thank goodness the Bucks and Celtics don't play tonight, because then it's kind of weird if we're talking about a game. It doesn't work. But how are you feeling about it? Because right now we're tied 2-2. As the day this goes live, you have game 5. How are you feeling? I think your Celtics are like 5.5-point favorites too. Can we get a sneak peek of what you'd pick
for tomorrow's game? I mean, I say it in my videos all the time. I'm like, I'm biased. I don't know. It's like people get so mad in the comments, and I'm like, I'm just telling you the truth. Like if I don't bet on the Celtics, it probably means I'm leaning the other way. It's just, you got to read between the lines here. I think that's a pretty big number, if I'm being completely honest. I think these games are going to get pretty tight moving forward. But last night's game gave me a little bit of I would say a little bit more hope than I've had all series long, because obviously a team can blow out another team when they're playing poorly. Like obviously game 1 and then game 2, both teams, there was clearly a better team that night. Game 3 could have gone either way. And then game 4, I saw some things that I liked. The Bucks seemed to get a little bit restless, a little bit tired, and started to not execute down the stretch. Whereas the Celtics seemed to have a little bit more fresh legs from their stars too. And then I heard a stat today that Giannis hadn't played up until this series, a 40-minute game all year long or something like that. So there was things to take away in that game, that game 4, that I was like, you know what? I think that gave me a little bit of hope. Whereas prior to, I still thought that this Bucks team, probably wins it in 7 or so, but I'm seeing green now. Celtic green to clarify, but I'm liking it. I will say I don't love the 5.5 line whatsoever. I think that asking either team to win by 6 points in like a hard fought series with two teams that can grind. I don't love that spread at all.
I agree with your kind of take on the spread. When I was going into this series, obviously I'm kind of biased because I really do love Giannis. And I honestly, you watching him, I'm sure you love you. I don't know how anyone could hate Giannis. He's just so fun to watch. And he's bullying Peyton Pritchard and Grant Williams and all your guys. I mean, he's Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's the Greek freak. But this is like one of the first years I think I haven't hated the Celtics or like their team. I do like a lot of their players. I mean, it's not the annoying Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett days when I dreaded Celtics being successful. I don't mind this team. Maybe it's because I love Jaylen Brown and he went to the high school that I grew up right next to. And I'm like, I like this guy. And Jason Tatum, they're all so young, and it's so fun to. I don't hate him at all. And I honestly, if I were to gun to my head, I'd probably pick the Celtics to win the series. That's not trying to jinx them. Because I'm technically rooting for the Bucks. I promise.
Okay, yeah.
But I think I think the Chris Middleton injury, and I know people trash Chris Middleton saying, oh, he's 12 points a game score. They need Chris Middleton out there. And I think the Bucks are kind of realizing
he's a Celtics killer. He's a Celtics killer.
He destroys the Celtics. And this is a guy, I mean, granted, he's, maybe he has some inconsistent games in the playoffs, but this is the guy that carried them kind of towards the end of the game and in the finals. He was a guy that was, I don't know, average 20 something points per game. And they're really missing that because right now, and I'll give you a spoiler. Actually, people aren't going to be a spoiler. My pick for Wednesday's game, I took Drew Holiday's over in points, mainly because he has to shoot it 20 times. He's not shooting it well. Trust me, don't get me wrong. He's shooting it terribly. He's got Marcus Smart clamping him up, but he's got to shoot the ball a ton. It's Giannis shooting it. And then I just don't think they get enough production. Whereas you talk about the Celtics, very deep team with, the starting five. Then they got Pritchard. They got Derek White. They got Grant Williams now playing pretty well. I mean, that's 8 deep. And I don't want to go 8 deep on that Bucks roster. You can bet me on that.
Yeah. So I really do think that's that's the key. Obviously, I think Giannis can run away with any game. I mean, Tatum can too, but Giannis is an absolutely different animal. But I think we saw it that last game last night really showed me that, okay, Giannis, he can get tired. And the minute he gets tired or Drew Holiday gets tired, that the Bucks start to look to other guys like Grayson Allen or Brook Lopez. And it's like, okay, like you look to them all you want. So I saw a little something there that gave me a little bit more hope in terms of giving a nod towards the Celtics for the series. And it came out of last game, really.
Yeah. Are we not going to talk about the vintage Al Horford performance? Come on. I love Al Horford. You know why I love Al Horford? Maybe you know this, but I went to the University of Florida. I'm a proud Gator, and he made me so proud last night. I was like, that's my boy, bleeding the orange and blue. Al Horford had a vintage performance. If they're getting production like that out of Al Horford, I mean, come on, man. Giannis straight up ticked him off. It was wild, the looks between the two. I mean, that was cool.
I want whatever he's having, because that was crazy. And that's so cool to think about too when you look at it retroactively, that Giannis dunks on him and then Al gives him kind of like okay, you'll get yours. You'll get yours. And I think it was less than like 10 minutes game time later, he goes, dunks on him and gives him a little bit of sugar right afterwards. Whether you want to say did it on purpose or not, I don't really care, because it hyped me up. And I've never seen Al Horford get that pumped and that excited. And it was kind of like a moment of like, holy crap, like that was awesome. It gave me the chills. I can only imagine what, he's feeling or what people in the arena were feeling. Even Bucks fans are probably like, uh-oh, like we just somehow unlocked the beast. And then I heard it on the radio today. It's a good point. It was like, I forget who was saying it, but they were saying it kind of shows how much Al Horford probably keeps on the down low during games all the time. Like, he's so well composed, because stuff like that happens in the NBA, and it's pretty interesting to see it just come out all of a sudden in one sort of burst. But yeah, that was really cool. So big props to Al. Almost, I had him as a double-double last night, but I guess I can't really be mad about that prop or anything, because he absolutely went off and not pretty much won the game for the Celtics.
No, I mean, he was the difference maker. If you get 30 points on Al Horford, you better win.
Yeah,
I don't know how to tell you. You ain't getting 30 every night from him. So I didn't listen to the broadcast too much. Was that a career high for playoffs for Al Horford? I have no idea, but I'd imagine it was.
Yeah, it was.
That's just an awesome story for Al Horford. For I don't know how old he is. If like 37, 38, I have no idea.
I don't know.
A cool story for him, thinking about back to, obviously his Florida days when he was winning national championships. Was he on that Joakim Noah team?
Yeah. He was the back-to-back squad.
Yeah, and then he was obviously went to the Hawks, not a lot of success there, and then they were super good. And then I kind of think of like a guy like Paul Millsap, who's kind of like irrelevant now. And then we see Al Horford just having these remarkable games, like a double-double in 3 straight. Obviously didn't get the double-double for you in game 4. My treat, he's getting one game 5. You can book that.
Let's go.
But man, Al Horford's a great story. It's kind of like you kind of think about these older guys in the NBA. You think, they're scrubs, but still NBA players. They can score 30 any given night. But I think it's really cool. I think it's a cool story. I saw his lines 14.5 tomorrow. I'm curious how many people are hammering his over.
Yeah, I think it very much will depend too on Robert Williams. Not that it's mattered so far, I guess, because he's played so well in the playoffs, but Robert Williams' health status and whatnot too. But it was cool to see that, because it's Al Horford's obviously second time on the team now. He left, people were calling him Average Al and all that, and then he comes back and everyone's singing his prayers now. So it definitely is a cool story.
I haven't been following too closely. Does Daniel Theis still get any minutes?
He does, yeah, he does.
Okay.
He's been playing a decent amount, but he is such a, in terms of like, they will very much like Grant Williams too. If he's not playing well, if he's fouling, if he just looks out of place, they don't force his minutes. They're going to say, all right, you can sit down and you know, we'll figure something else out. But again, it's a little up in the air too with Robert Williams being injured, that, you know, they just need bodies. So Daniel Theis has been playing a decent amount of minutes, but it's very matchup dependent. You know, when Grant Williams is playing way better, he's going to get some of those minutes and everything like that.
Logan has a pain point for Daniel Theis.
Oh yeah.
The only so people, if people have been listening to us before, they've heard my sob story about this. I had a 15-leg parlay. I'm not even kidding. I made a 15-leg same game parlay. It was in the Celtics versus Heat game back in the bubble. So, you know, you go back a little bit. I had 14 out of 15 legs. The one leg that did not hit was Daniel Theis. I picked his under. He went barely over. I hate that man. And what did it cost me, Austin? It cost me $3,500. It was $10. it was $10 to win 3,500, and it's all because of Daniel Theis. If I'm ever sitting thinking about what I could do with $3,000. Yeah, I think about Daniel Theis. He comes to mind. So every time I see his trash self on the court, I just think about that.
I don't blame you. I mean, then you must, if you're watching the Celtics-Bucks series, he's falling victim to, like I said, the matchups and everything like that.
Yes.
He's not playing much this series, but he did get a bunch of run against Brooklyn and whatnot. So, you know, I would hate Daniel Theis too. Like, if that's the case. In fact, I'm a Celtics fan. I'm doing this for you, Logan, as a show of good faith. I might hate him now just because he did that to you.
This is my villain origin story of why I hate Daniel Theis. My book. All my homies hate Daniel Theis. There you
go. So switching topics. We asked a couple of our previous guests, and I told you I was going to ask you this question pre-show. I'm curious if you came up with an answer. I want your NBA most overrated player. Now, it's kind of tough to answer this question because half the teams haven't been playing for about a month now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to say, you know, whatever. But I'm curious what your answer is, because we had some interesting answers so far on the program, and I'm curious what you have to offer.
I think this is probably not right, but this is showing my green glasses here. Kyrie Irving, to me, I'm like so done with him. I think that, you know, he's got the skill. Okay. But when you talk overrated, it's like you can put Kyrie Irving on a team tomorrow and they're like, oh, that's a piece to make a super team. That's a piece to do this, a championship caliber player. That dude doesn't care about basketball anymore. So he's overrated in my book, in the sense that, you know, he will always have that hype of, oh, you put him on a super team, you put him here, he's going to really help you. I lived through it with the Celtics. That team could have been so good, and he just gives up when he doesn't want basketball to be played anymore. So that's my sort of Celtics biased answer. I think some of the easy ones may be like and I don't even know if after this season it would ring true anymore, but Russell Westbrook, I think for the longest time, even when he was, you know, averaging triple doubles, winning MVPs, like if you watch the end of those games, they literally would miss shots or make sure to get him an assist. And I don't like when it comes down to, like, I feel like I got a little, I don't know, it's the opposite of a soft spot. A gripe with when a guy knows how many points and stuff he has during a game. I'm not a big fan of that. Like, oh, let me go get this rebound and stuff like that. Or it's a 50-point blowout and Russell Westbrook's like, I'm going to miss my own shot so I can get a rebound and all this. So he would probably be an answer. And then one guy I hated for a long time on the Raptors, but now I actually think that he does a lot for the team, is Kyle Lowry. On my live streams, I used to say, give me a knife, put me in a room with Kyle Lowry, and let's see what happens. He'd probably still ragdoll me, but I would love that opportunity. Don't like that opportunity anymore. I kind of like Kyle Lowry now, but those are just some of my answers. But Kyrie Irving, like, as much as it sounds like I'm being a green teamer Celtics fan, I think there's some legitimate, weight to what I'm saying about how he just really, like, thinks about other things beyond basketball, which is great, but you're playing basketball. Like, you got to some degree be a basketball player and be a winner at the end of the day. And he's shown for a few years now that isn't at the top of his list.
Yeah, I feel like, and you said you were a little bit biased at the beginning, so you're clear of all Kyrie Irving hate.
I'll always tell you when I'm biased, because it happens a lot.
I forget who said it, but Kyrie Irving was another one of the answers we received from someone else. And I can understand it. Kind of as a Knicks fan, I kind of equivalent him to a guy like Carmelo Anthony. Very simple, not obviously they play completely different positions, but a guy that could go out and get you 30 points a night. but not necessarily helping your team win a whole lot of games. I know this because I still am a Knicks fan, sad Knicks fan. But yeah, you would get Carmelo out there just ball hogging, and he wasn't necessarily winning a lot of games, and he needed other guys to kind of carry him. So I don't blame you on that pick. Kyle Lowry, yeah, he just kind of, he's injured at the moment, not even playing in game, like not even playing tonight. I don't know how the Sixers Heat game goes tonight, but not playing. And then who's your other one? I forgot him already. Westbrook. Yeah, Westbrook. It's kind of like, you beating a dead horse at that rate, saying Westbrook's overrated. I feel like that's, a common narrative. So I get that. Logan, who was your answer? I don't remember it.
Mine was Anthony Davis. And I stand on that one because the Lakers had such a good vision for him, and the best ability is availability. We talk about it so much, and I mean, honestly, even when he was just completely healthy and everything, I'm like, to me, he's just not the game changer that everybody acts like he is. Like they act like he's one of the best big men in the league by far in a way. And I'm just like, I don't know that I see that. Like I'm just being completely honest. He's great at defense, but I don't know that he's as dominant as people always say. But your Kyrie answer, I love that answer because nothing ticks me off more than seeing like wasted potential. And I think the whole Nets narrative was wasted potential. Like you have KD and Kyrie in their prime still, arguably. And Kyrie just isn't right between the ears. Like that's what it is. He's just not in a basketball mindset, as you were saying. And he's just, you really, like, some players you look at and you're like, they're living paycheck to paycheck. They're playing this game because they need to survive. They're just like dogs. Kyrie Irving is not a dog. Kyrie Irving goes home and basketball is the last thing he wants to think about. So it's like, that's all, honestly what makes him overrated and probably overpaid for that matter. They're asking, they need a lot more out of him than what they're getting.
And I just always take it from a stance of like, I don't think he's doing what's best for like whatever, because I know he does so many things outside of basketball. Not any of like the political or vaccine stuff. I'm so dumb on that type of stuff. So I don't even have any takes on that. But like when he stands for something, that's great as an optic, but I still come from the side of, I think Kyrie Irving's doing something for Kyrie Irving. He's not doing it to push forward an initiative or do something for X, Y, and Z. Like when they went to the bubble, and I think he was the VP of the Players Union at the time. Like he was the one making the calls to try and figure out the amenities for people in the bubble. Do we get massages? Do we get food? Blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they find out that players that hadn't played in X amount of days or whatever it was, because you were injured, you don't go to the bubble. And all of a sudden he's like, all of a sudden his tune changes and he's, you know what? Now I don't want to go to the bubble. Anyone that goes to the bubble is, saying yes to the man. And it's like, you were the one that was excited and asking about what's for breakfast. And now you're just making it this big deal. Like it just, that type of stuff, it annoys me if, and if that was if that's what he was and he admitted that that's the type of thing he was, then I wouldn't have a problem with him. But he will constantly come back and act like he's still all about basketball and act like all he wants to do is win a championship or tell Celtics fans he wants his number in the rafters and stuff like that. It's like, you don't just tell me if he comes out tomorrow and says, I don't care about basketball. I'm really good. I'll play when I can. I'll be like, okay, well, at least you admit it. Like, fine. I don't have a problem with you anymore. So I do. He gets under my skin, but rightfully so, I guess.
I have my answer for most overrated player. Enough with the Kyrie slander. He's sitting on the couch watching he's not watching probably the playoffs. He doesn't care. But my player, and I've talked about Zach LaVine before. I'm actually going to his teammate, DeMar DeRozan. Now, that's not a DeMar DeRozan. I think he's bad. I just think he's a little bit overrated in the sense that he was very good this year for the Chicago Bulls, averaging, he had those crazy streaks. My problem with DeMar DeRozan comes down to two things. It comes down to one, I don't think he necessarily makes his teammates much better. And so, in my sense, in that way, is like, I don't see him averaging a ton of assists per game. Even when Zach LaVine's out, we see him scoring 35, 40 points. Like I said with Carmelo Anthony, he could score that too, but it never translated to a lot of wins. And we saw the Bulls team very good when they were healthy. And then obviously the second half All-Star break, they weren't very good. DeMar DeRozan was still doing his thing. They just weren't very good. And they doesn't play very good defense either. And then my third thing, I have not seen DeMar DeRozan ever get it done in the postseason. We saw him in that Bucks series. He struggled. He was very bad the last couple of games. And granted, the Bucks were throwing nine guys. They were putting all five on, and they were putting Mike Budenholzer tripping him. They were doing as much as they could to kind of stop him. Stripping him was an exaggeration, but he just didn't get done. And we've seen him kind of that same kind of story, DeMar DeRozan, year over year. We think back to his days with the Raptors. They finally won when they got rid of DeMar DeRozan. Now, granted, they got Kawhi Leonard, so give them, they deserve that props. But still, they were losing a ton to LeBron James. And granted, that's LeBron James. You're probably going to lose more often than not. But I don't know. I'm not a DeMar DeRozan hater. I think he's a little bit overrated, in my opinion. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I don't hate that at all. I remember at one point during the season, he was like in MVP talks.
Yeah, he was probably
and I was
top
like,
5 MVP.
Yeah, I was like, what? So I don't hate that at all. I think you bring up the postseason stuff too, and I think that it triggers the saying, not the saying, but the phrase in my mind of like empty stats, and that does kind of relate back to what I said about Westbrook too. And then like a guy like even Damian Lillard that you can say it's like, you go off, you play so well, you're good. Like you're saying DeMar DeRozan isn't bad. He doesn't make his teammates better. That's totally fair. But, you can only score X amount of points so many times before people are like, well, it's not getting you guys anywhere. And though he did do a lot for the Bulls team this year, the minute it kind of came down to, okay, well, let's beat a good team. Like they actually, even at the end of the year, they had a lot of injury woes and they had a terrible schedule to end the year, but they started to kind of crumble and lost all momentum. So kind of aligns exactly what you're saying. I don't hate that answer at all because it's, my answer with Kyrie kind of came from like a hated standpoint, but yours is like almost go figure. But yours is like almost logical in that sense of like how people rate him. You think that they overrate him. So, props to you on that answer, Austin. You're more logical than I am.
That's probably the only logical thing I'll say today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like the answer because DeMar is a bucket, and I'm not going to take any DeMar DeRozan slander, really. I mean, like he's just one of those players that I don't think he's as overrated as what you're saying. Like I don't think people are putting him in the upper echelon of NBA stars or NBA stardom. Like he's a bucket. We kind of know what he is, right? The book's written on DeMar DeRozan, and a lot of your concessions when talking about all the injury woes of the Bulls and everything like that. I think he did the best with what he was given. Like I honestly, like what more did you want him to put the cape on his back and will a Buns Bulls team? I don't call them Buns. They were beat up and they were simply outmatched. What did you expect from him? I mean, I think it's kind of crazy that he had the Bulls in irrelevancy that they really haven't had in a hot minute, right? Chicago has been kind of craving that, like those players that they can kind of, get behind and love. And I really think they gravitated a lot towards DeMar DeRozan, especially throughout the year.
I mean, I don't think it's a surprise that they started to struggle when they got obviously a bunch of injuries. That's not going to help, but I think my more kind of qualification is that he's not a very good defender, not a guy that's going to go out and lock down anyone. So just because he's scoring 38 points, he'd be giving up just as many on the other side of the floor. I think he's very talented. The Bulls, I wouldn't blame, obviously, the Bulls' failures second half of the year on him. It's not his fault that they lost Lonzo Ball. Caruso was out. Patrick Williams was out. They lost all these guys that play a lot of defense. They were a team I would just hammer player prop overs on because they couldn't play an ounce of defense. And they had Vooch, and he doesn't play much defense either. So it was like, it's not necessarily all DeMar DeRozan's fault. I mean, I think the Bulls, we'll see what they do this offseason because Zach LaVine, I don't know his status for free agency, but I think he's either restricted or unrestricted. He might not be back if who knows? There's really a lot of rumors out there of him potentially going to a guy you just mentioned, Damian Lillard, him teaming up with him. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'll back off my DeMar DeRozan slander because I don't think he's trash. He made me a lot of money this year, but I just think he might be when he was getting those, top 5, MVP kind of chance. I think that's at that point I was like, this is a little bit overhyped.
Yeah. All right. That's fair. Well, you walked it back a little bit. That's enough for me. DeMar DeRozan fans, put down your pitchforks for now.
No, that makes sense though. What else? So my question for you, where do you see your channel going in the next, I don't know, long-term plan? Are you working full-time or what do you do for a living?
So I still work full time. Yeah. And in terms of the channel, I really do, I think it's probably a cliche answer, but anything we're making off the channel right now, whether it's through YouTube or through any sort of ads or anything like that, I'm trying to put back into the channel, whether that's talent, whether that's, anything that we can do to kind of invest in it. I did, go, like I had said, back in the is a few years ago at this point now, when I talked about how we were really pushing everything to the website, GuyBostonSports.com versus an outlet like YouTube or whatnot. I did go full time for about 6 months before I realized, okay, you know what, it's would help if I had this supplementary income. So I went back to a job and everything like that. So right now I'm putting, 40 hours a week into a company, and then putting however many hours there is left over with very little sleep, as I'm sure you guys both know. Getting up early and doing videos and stuff like that into Guy Boston and the channel and everything like that. And in terms of where I see it going, I really do just want to take it to a place where anything that we do that we think is interesting, people watching will think is interesting. The channel definitely started to spike this offseason when I was reacting to NBA trade rumors, watching highlights and everything like that. That's where we kind of saw, I think I ended the Celtics season last year with under 1,000 subscribers. And then in the off season, we got to 3,000 or so just by doing, reaction videos. And that's super fun for me because people will send and DM videos that I haven't seen before. And it's very simple to put a camera on myself and say, let's watch this video. It sounds weird, but let's watch this video together. And the fact that anyone, even one person, could find interest in my face going or seeing something for the first time is pretty unique and cool. And that kind of just fueled the fire to just do more and more and more. So it's Boston based. It's always, I think, gonna have Boston at its core, but I always want to do, I guess, whatever anyone wants to see. And that's kind of where the picks came from too. That's not Boston centric, but we started to bring that to the channel too. So I really just want to, more and more content, as long as I think that it can maintain some sort of, quality entertainment, anything like that. I think that, the more the merrier if we're selective about what we do.
Yeah, no, I think that's really awesome. And so if anything we can do to help you grow, that is what we want to do. You talked about I'm curious what your routine is like, because I know you pump out the videos sometimes well before mine. So I know you're up early. I'm just curious what your normal routine is, because I like to hear. I know the grind. I know the grind's real.
So it'll usually start, if sometimes I'm laying in bed starting to look at the lines. And I know for you, I'm way more and have had way more success with against the spread than player props. But obviously I like to mix in a little bit of both. But I'm looking at lines and kind of looking at trends and stuff like that, almost for fun sometimes before I go to sleep. And that gives me the idea of, okay, now I kind of see what I now want to research in the morning. If I like the Heat like I do tonight, we'll see how this goes. It could age horribly, but I started to come about that last night, and then I wake up sometimes I don't know, 5 o'clock or so, 4:30 to do that next hour and a half of research to record the video, just to almost find little nuggets of things that either make me feel better about what I was gonna say in a video or worse, and get it all going, get it packaged up, and then I head to work and carry on my day. And throughout the day, I add in plays, which I know you guys do as well, if anything kind of jumps out. But I think we all probably know the I would say the struggle of waking up early and stuff, but I think there's a little bit of mutual, what it takes. And also, once you see the success in something too, it makes it worth it. And I don't mean to sound all preachy here, but the minute you see people reacting to something that you got up early to create or stayed up late to create, it does make it instantly worth that grind, So it is early mornings, late nights, but I don't think I would be doing it if I didn't like doing it, And I'm sure you guys are in a very similar boat.
Yeah, 100%. I would not do the videos if I didn't, enjoy waking up and doing the grind. Because no one, trust me, I don't want to be waking up at 4:30 every morning, kind of thing. But I do it because it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to kind of interact with people and see, these, see the people from 2 weeks ago back on the videos and stuff like that. I think that's a really cool part. So I appreciate you for doing all the work for the community, because I know a lot of people on our channel watch yours. So that's super awesome. What would you say is your favorite thing about doing YouTube?
I say the fact that, getting one person to comment that something in that video, it's spoke to them. It's not I'm not giving life advice out here or anything like that. But when they're like, hey,
what's
that
going
makes
on in your videos that I'm missing?
you don't see the middle part. You probably fast forward through those. But no, when I say something in a video that isn't just hey, Heat -3 type of thing. When I say I make a joke or I say something, or, you know, I rag all over myself for being dumb about something, and someone reacts to that, I'm like, okay, that's like the great part of me just being me. It's really easy to go through and be like, hey, like, you know, play team X -3.5 or player Y over 20 points. You know what I mean? But the minute, and I know you guys both do it too. The minute you can show a little bit of yourself, and I think that that's probably something that we all do really well, which is why people watch our channels. The minute people pick up on stuff that you do, or like, I didn't even realize that every video I go, all right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel, and rub my hands together. Someone in the comments told me that I do that every video. And now I got to make sure I do that every video because it was an intro that I didn't know I had. But it's like, it's kind of like a, you know, the stuff that I don't even pick up on, or I'm just record and going at it. When that gets through to someone, I'm kind of like, oh, that's cool. Like, that feels like you're reaching someone versus just, you know, hey, we're doing this today, blah 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 blah. Like, you know, you can kind of be yourself. So that's my favorite part, when the community feels like it's really a community, not just a viewer. If that makes sense. I feel like I rambled, but
No, I totally agree. Logan, you can go.
I was gonna add on that. Like, a lot of people, even on these podcasts, are like, "Oh, that's so cool! You guys, you know, talked with King Sanders. I watched both of your channels, and now they're gonna see you, and they're gonna be like, Guy Boston Sports. You guys all, like, you know each other, interact with each other. All of our little sub communities, all there's sort of like a Venn diagram of they all overlap, and that's really cool as you're kind of showing love to the communities, because that's ultimately what we're trying to grow. It's ultimately what you're trying to grow, and that's what sets apart these awesome channels that have unlimited growth potential. I mean, that's cool, and I definitely love how you're Boston centered, but you're not too annoying masshole to where I'm gonna hear 2 minutes of you and then turn it off.
No, yeah, no. Even if I was going down that route, I would tell you that I am, like, just so, like, when I talk Celtics games, I'm like, by the way, before you jump, like, I am biased, so get ready, fast forward through this, whatever. But it is like, I view this, anyone in the community, or in, I guess you could say, the industry here on YouTube do, like, it's an unlimited amount of food on the plate. Everyone can get food on their plate. I'm not really into the the competitor standpoint, unless someone's doing something that I don't necessarily agree with, or I don't like, or it doesn't seem genuine. I'm a huge genuine, like, fan, when someone, and I think that, you guys in particular, and I know me, like, the fact that I could press record and be like, by the way, guys, I had 1,000,000 bets last night. Guess what? I went 0 in 1,000,000, and they were like not even close to hitting, but stick with me here. We'll go through this, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what I respect in other channels as well. I'm not a big fan of, you have a O for night, and then just on to the next day. Let's talk about today's picks.
What are you talking about?
There's plenty out there, but
what losses? I don't know what you're talking about.
But you know what I mean? Like, I like the genuineness of it. It's more about the one-to-one with whoever's watching than the, let me give you what I'm picking tonight, because all I do every single day is, I've been, statistically better and worse, like, profitable in it. But all I'm telling you is what I'm doing at the end of the day. It's not me being like, hey, you should do this. I'm probably going to go to the opposite. No, I'm just telling you what I'm going with. And I always say, if you fade me, you're smart. You ride, you're a genius. And that's kind of where it comes from. Like, you're smart to fade me, but if you're sticking with me here, you're probably a genius. But yeah, I think that there's plenty of food on to be out there to get on everyone's. And I really do like that aspect of it. Even you guys having me on here type of thing is really, really cool.
No, I mean, we appreciate you for coming on to the weekly podcast. And I think that's kind of going on and piggybacking off what you're saying. I think that's why you've seen so much success and why you're closing on 10,000 subscribers. People, go hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're 44 minutes into here and you haven't subscribed to them, I don't know what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, I think that's why you've had so much successes, because you provide good info, and that's awesome. I mean, it's good that you do all the research and you put the time into your your analysis, talking about your picks and whatnot, and you're very diligent about it. But there's so many people in the community that do that. Just from a year ago, and I was doing some stats in my most recent. I just recorded NBA's video for Wednesday before this, because I'm moving a little bit. If people can't notice, all the decorations are down because I'm moving tomorrow, well, technically today while this goes live. But regardless, a lot of people have entered the space over the last year and two, kind of since you started doing the sports betting picks and all that stuff. And feel like everyone can do the same thing. Oh, here's these stats and stuff. But I think people stick around with your videos because you're genuine, you're fun to listen to, and you have some personality to them. And there's a lot of people out there that do picks and they're kind of robotic and they're not very fun to listen to and all that kind of stuff. But I know you guys have a lot of supportive fans. I see our fans in your comments, your fans in our comments, and I think it's a really cool thing to see. And I'm excited to. I root for your picks every night, unless they're against mine. But I root for everyone's picks because, and at the end of the day, we are a Venn diagram, but we're only as strong as each other, and we're not going to continue to grow if we can't keep bringing more people into the community, helping people make some money, or just kind of bringing like, you share, someone watches your channel, shares your channel with someone else, and then maybe they find our channel, and then everyone kind of grows together. So we kind of all are that Venn diagram that we kind of need each other to keep growing, keep grinding, and kind of keep working hard. And I think we'll all kind of make it at the end of the day.
For sure.
Well said. I mean, I think that you guys, being able to take smaller channels and just interact with them is so crazy. Like, I know, Austin, we've DM'd and texted for a while, but you guys well deserve the success that you've seen. I know you guys are, this is not an insult, but you're nowhere near where you guys are going to be. And I think that you guys probably know that too. Like, you guys are taking this thing, I've heard you say it, both of you guys, to the moon. And I fully believe that. Like, I do believe it because I see the genuineness in it. And I'm not saying I can judge talent better than the next guy, but there's 30, almost 35,000 people out there that see it in you guys too. I'm just one of those people. And I don't think that that's even the tip of the iceberg for you guys, for sure. Being able to take on smaller channels and be like, hey, come on the show or interact with, like, big time kudos to you guys. Cause that's when I talk about a full circle conversation, when I talk about genuineness, it's not a numbers game to you guys. It's a genuine type game. So not to get all mushy here, but I do really appreciate it, guys.
Hey, no. I love that you said we're all, we're going to the moon. We're all going to the moon. You're coming to the moon too, because as more states legalize sports betting, I'm just going to say those people are going to turn to channels like ours that project this sort of confidence, that project, as you keep preaching, genuineness. Recap your losses. That's all people care about. If they lost their money on your picks, you better come in and say, guys, I really stunk. It's just like they want some accountability. So that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. And we're all going to the moon for sure.
I didn't even tell you guys. You asked about my routine too, waking up and doing all that. I go, not always, I'll be completely honest, but when I can, I will drive an hour and a half south, 2 hours south, get over the border of Connecticut to be able to place bets. So I gotta, I don't have it as easy as you guys. I am in Boston, but it is what it is. It's coming everywhere. And it's, it is what it is.
Only
right now.
a matter of the time. But we appreciate you for coming on to the channel, coming on the weekly podcast. Again, this is Guy Boston Sports. If you haven't subscribed to him, we really would appreciate it if you go do that. Trying to grind towards 10,000 subscribers. So we appreciate you for coming on to the weekly podcast. Let us know who you guys want us to bring on. Actually, in 2 weeks, we already have next week's guest lineup. But let us know who you want to see next week. We'll appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning into episode 35 of our weekly podcast. It's been Austin. This has been Logan for Guy Boston Sports. We'll see you guys again next week. Peace out.